We're continuing the series here, going around college basketball. And as you know, you clicked on this video today. We're looking at Michigan, the Wolverines, heading into the 2025-26 season. Today is just going to be a little preview, looking at the roster heading into next season. And in the fall, I'll come back and give you guys my predictions and my projected rotation for the Michigan basketball program. But before we look at the roster, we got to give a little recap on last year's team. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel. So, look, last year was a lot of new for Michigan. New head coach Dusty May, a lot of new players in the roster, and it was needed. They were coming off of an 8-24 season, and they got off to a really good start. They had some stumbles late in the season in Big Ten play. But their double big lineup with Vlad Golden joining head coach Dusty May coming over from FAU, and Danny Wolf was just phenomenal. The two 7-footers played really well together. You had guards, Trey Downson. Trey Downson really was the third guy for them. But they also had support in Roddy Gale, Namari Burnett, Will Shedder, LJ Kaysen came on at the end of the season. So there were other players to this team, but they were certainly led by Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. And they had a good run in the NCAA tournament. They won their first 2 games. They made the Sweet 16, and then they lost to eventual Final Four team in Auburn. So no shame there. So how does this team look heading into the 2025-26 season? Before we look at the current roster, let's just go through quickly here at the guys who have left the program. So, Vlad Golden and Reuben Jones were out of eligibility, and Danny Wolf entered the NBA draft, was a first-round pick by the Brooklyn Nets. Trey Donaldson, Sam Walters, Jace Howard, Justin Pippen, Fat Brooks, they all left in the transfer portal. Trey Donaldson really being the key loss there. So let's look at the current roster here for Michigan. All right, we're going to do this in class order. So we're going to start off with the freshmen. I'll let you guys know which of these players have transferred in as well and where they transferred in from. But the first 2 freshmen here are Ricky LeBird, who's a late get, a decommit from, I think it was Coastal Carolina, if I remember correctly. Not a top 100 recruit. Don't expect him to be a part of the rotation, as long as there's no injuries for this Michigan team. But Trey McKinney, I do expect to be a major part of this rotation and a really important player because of his ability to shoot the 3-ball for this Michigan team. Top 25 recruit. In a class as strong as this one, that actually says a lot to me. And I think Trey McKinney is going to be a really important player for Michigan. All right. Couple more freshmen and redshirt freshmen here in Winters Grady, Malik Cordell, and Oscar Goodman. Goodman came over last season, actually, in the midway point. Redshirted, came over from New Zealand. I'm really not sure what to make of Oscar Goodman. Winters Grady is a top 100 recruit, so there's a chance he ends up in the rotation, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on it. And Malik Cordell is very interesting. Later commit in terms of the time period in the spring here. But he's 7'2". I kind of see him more as developmental for this season because of, we'll get to the depth in front of him, but you never know. Foul trouble, injury, he could be forced into action a little bit sooner, and with that size, he should be able to contribute. So, a couple of guys here in LJ Kaysen. And we'll just stick with LJ Kaysen here, who had a strong close to last season. He's 6'2". He's not a great shooter as of right now, so I'm a little bit worried. But he does provide Michigan with some good guard play, especially with the way he finished last season. Now we're going to get into some of these transfers. So first 2, I should say, as that's what we got on the screen here. Morez Johnson Jr. and Elliot Cadeau. 2 of the big 4 transfers coming in for this Michigan team. A sophomore and a junior, respectfully, in Johnson and Cadeau. Johnson, a tremendous rebounder, one of the top offensive rebounders in the country. last season on a per minute basis. Had some good minutes, I would say, in the U19 World Cup. Slightly, I guess you could say, undersized because he's 6'9" at the center spot, but makes up for it with length and strength. And is just a tremendous rebounder, good defensive player. Elliot Cadeau is a throwback point guard, a pass-first guy, comes over from North Carolina. He averaged 6 assists, about 9-10 points a game for North Carolina last season, 1 steal. Not much of a three-point shooter, and at times can be a little bit foul and turnover prone. But I am curious if he can take a step in his development. New scenery, new environment with Michigan. Adai Mara coming over from UCLA, junior, 7'3", 255 pounds. Him and Morez Johnson, that's your center tandem. So that's why it was tough for me to see Malik, what's his last name here? Cordell getting a ton of playing time with these two guys ahead of him. But Mara, he made some strides last year. There's a lot of hype on him as a freshman, so-so. But last year he seemed to play much better. Could operate as the hub for the UCLA team as a passing big. And then on the defensive side of the court with his size was a real rim protector. Roddy Gale Jr., back from last season, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists for Roddy Gale. His senior season, got only seniors left here. So we've got his last 3 guys, a couple of returners, and then the big transfer. Namari Burnett, Will Shedder, and Yaxel Lendeborg. So we'll start with the returners, and we'll get to Yaxel last. So Namari Burnett, I think, is a really important player for this Michigan team. 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, but most importantly, 40% from 3 on 4 attempts. And Will Shedder, while the percentage and the numbers aren't great, he can shoot the 3. And at 6 points, 2.5 rebounds, he really provided a lot of energy for Michigan last season. But Yaxel Lendeborg is the real prize. He's the best player on this team, and it's not even close. 6'9", 240-pound graduate transfer from UAB. I mean, last year, just listen to these numbers, guys. 18 points, 11.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.7 steals, 1.8 blocks. And it goes beyond that. He's just a real stabilizer for the team, for UAB at least last season. I expect him to be the same for this Michigan team. A go-to guy, a guy who can rely on, depend on, etc. He's going to be a major difference maker for this Michigan team. And my last thing on Lendeborg, I am really surprised he ended up staying at Michigan. I thought he was going to be a first-round pick, but I think he was getting marks more in the late 20s. So I guess he decided it wasn't worth the risk of maybe being a second-round pick, which I understand, but I felt like he had a big opportunity last year to be a first-round pick. Now he hopes to build and have a similar level of production. It's going to be hard to be much better than those numbers, but if he can have similar production, maybe be a little bit better three-point shooter at Michigan, all of a sudden he goes from late 20s to maybe late teens, right? Because it's going to be hard for him to move up much more than that due to his age, but a great college player is Yaxel Lendeborg. Excited to see what he does in the Big Ten. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until next time, peace.